Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. It's a new one tonight. It is the Has&Haz Show. I'm going to introduce him straight away because he can't wait to come on. Here we go.
You're right, mate.
What's going on? It's the first episode, Has&Haz. It is actually a live fan show as well tonight, by the way. So for anyone who wants to get involved tonight, we've already got a guest.
People have been asking for this for a show for a long time, actually.
They have.
Last season. Yeah.
Look, finally, look, Has reached out to us again. I think Has was just itching. I believe you went away on holiday for a little while. You sort of recuperated. You come back, battery recharged, ready to go. So here we are. We're bringing you what you wanted. Has&Haz. It's also a live fan show today, so we've got the link up in the chat. So anyone who wants to get involved, please feel free to come on backstage, and we'll bring you on one after the other. Just also want to welcome everyone who's in the chat, who's also just coming into the chat as well now. Let's get the show cracking, basically. So we're going to bring on our first guest to start off with. It's none other than Mr. Adrian Schroker. Good evening, Adrian. How are you?
Good evening. I'm fine, thank you, and thanks for inviting me on the show.
It's an absolute
pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. Adrian, for those who don't know you or may not know you, please tell us a bit about yourself. Where have you been before? Have you got any sort of pages that we know about, or any socials or anything like that?
I've got a Facebook page for called Spurs Diehards TTID space Yid Army, which is easy enough to find. That's about it. There's about 11. Well, I think we're past the 11,000 mark now.
Wow.
That's just it runs itself. Once you get to a certain size, people just come. You know, got 8 admins on there as well with me, just to keep it under control. You know, we don't have no abuse, no sexism, no advertising, no dating agencies, no porn sites. You know. And if he does it,
It makes a change.
Tolerance, we just kick them straight away, like, you know. But no, they're a very mature and sensible crowd, you know. Good mix, leave-outers, you know, and just ordinary Spurs fans, you know, that, you know, just that love the club, basically. You know, I've been watching the club for 63 years, you know what I mean? So I'm 68 years of age, so I watched the double-side play, although I was too young to appreciate all the excitement because I was only 5 years old when we won it. So, but I'm sort of steeped in Spurs history, and I was introduced into Tottenham the usual way. I was press ganged into it by family members, as way you are, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
there was none of this media where you see other successful teams where you walk through towns now and you see shirts from every club going, you know. You supported Spurs
shots fired.
Death, you know, that's what it was really. From sitting on relatives' shoulders to progressing to a stall, you know, to being big enough to stand on the terraces myself, or sit around the edge of the pitch in the old days when it was that crowded, you know.
Well, obviously, it'll be interesting to get your perspective on things tonight. You know, there has been a few developments, let's say, over the last few days, but there has been more sort of moans and groans by the fans over the last few weeks, especially, you know, surrounding the whole issue of centre backs, the whole Kane saga. But we'll get into all that. First of all, please make sure you do get over to Adrian's Facebook page. It sounds like a fantastic page, and that's what I will be doing first thing after the show.
Yeah, same thing.
And there is a good mix of people on there as well. So, Adrian, to sort of start everything off, so far, what's the pre-season so far? What have you made of it, and how do you see it going? Sort of come the first game against.
Well, to me, the Spurs pre-season tour was just a jet lag-induced shambles with no consideration for players' welfare whatsoever. How you expect players to travel to Australia and then play a game a couple of days later and then fly off to Thailand and Singapore and do the same? I mean, as far as I'm concerned with pre-seasons, I've always believed that doesn't matter if there's international competitions going on, then players can meet up later. But I've always believed that we should be back at the training ground and have a month with the players at the training ground. You've got about 11 weeks in pre-season. Doesn't matter if you're still hunting to bring in players and that. But if Kane was away, if it meant that, say, half of the 25 were away on international duty, fine. Take the other half. Bring some kids along. Arrange a couple of games in one country, not have them travelling to three, unless it's America and you've got states adjacent to each other, you know, things like that. And then you can you've got a chance to play a couple of friendlies and give the kids a game. But to me, it was just a commercial exercise, wasn't it? To promote the Tottenham brand, you know, abroad, which probably worked. But, apart from that, that was a farce. Well, we started the transfer window well, in fact, getting 3 in. I mean, we got 3 in and we signed existing ones we knew were going to come in, didn't we? Porro and Kulusevski. We got those 2 done, which was good. Although, to me, Porro can't defend to save his life. I was questioning why we actually brought him in after we see him playing, because I thought, well, at Leicester, done on a near post. The way to Newcastle, done on the far post. The way to Newcastle, done on, and in the pre-season friendly again, done on the far post. You know, I don't want him anywhere near the far post. You know?
Adrian, do you see him as a winger? Because I see him as a winger, at least for now.
Well, people see I'm old school, so when people talk to me about false nines and wing backs, it raises my hackles, right? Because I always throw it back to myself. Well, I played football, not to a very good standard. I always throw it back to people and say, go and ask a coach, all these so-called pundits on the radio and TV, ask them what a wing back is, right? Just ask them, because we know it's a modern descriptive narrative, right? And if you've got 3 at the back and two defenders either side of them, looks like wings on an army manoeuvre and things like that. But my argument's always been, if being a wing back means you're absolved from defensive responsibilities, then you shouldn't be in a team in the first place. And then why not play an attacking midfielder or a winger there instead? You know, and we know it failed with Sonny in the League Cup final, didn't we? When they tried that, when Potts tried that. But no. And false number 9s, look, pick the position. It's just another Ponzi descriptive narrative, in my opinion. You know, you're either a striker, an inside striker, or whatever. But you'll get all these narratives brought into the game now, because all these 3-hour shows they have on the radio and all that, they need the conversations. I mean, you need conversations on podcasts, no, but listen, Spurs never leave you short of conversation.
There isn't a day that goes by where, you know, there isn't something to talk about with Spurs. And, you know, just when you think can't get any worse, it gets worse, or, you know, vice versa. But look, I just want to ask you, Adrian, do you think Ange will be successful at Tottenham? Just, you know, why not, or why he will be, you know, if you think he will be, if you think he won't be. Do you see him being successful at Tottenham? And what does he need to be successful at Tottenham?
I think we're going to see a better brand of football. I think that's a cert. He will play on the front foot in every game. It won't matter who we're playing against. He'll still play on the front foot. He mainly plays with a 6 and 2 8s. So 6 is a bit of an issue, right? 2 8s. He has been known to play with a 6 and an 8, and he has, I guess, against maybe weaker position, has been known to play with a 6 and 2 10s. But it's mainly a 6 and 2 8s. We know that, don't we? 6 is a debate now, because people are arguing whether Bissouma can do it. I mean, I've said this for a few months now. I actually believe that if you had 2 good centre backs in, you could play Romero as a 6. He's got it all. He used to step in midfield in a 3 in Italy. And if I'm an opposing striker or number 10 trying to play through the lines, I don't really want to face Romero, to be honest with you, you know? So, and there's less chance of him giving away a penalty. Plus, he's not the greatest in the air. I still think he's a quality defender, and he's coming for a lot of stick. But parts of last season, especially to the end, he's come back a World Cup winner. I think it went to his head a little bit, because in some games, I'm a season ticket holder, he was a bit casual, but he did snap out of it. And the one thing about Romero that is good, funnily enough, when he gets a booking, it's not like you're worried he's going to get the second one. I know he got sent off, but it's not like you're worried. He does seem to go into a different zone then. And if other players got bookings, I think they've got more chance of getting sent off than Romero is. Do you know where I'm coming from when you watch him? He does seem to, once he gets that booking, he seems to like something seems to click with him, and he seems to just like concentrate more. I like the way he spots danger quickly and he runs to intercept. That's why I think he'd be very good as a 6. He could do the 6 job if needed. Will it happen? I think it's unlikely, because it all depends what our centre back situation is by the time the season starts. So, so we'll see. But, we're going to be a work in progress team, aren't we? Because if you look on the left, if Reguilon stays, he's work in progress. Udogi's work in progress. If Solomon's playing up on the wing on the left, he's a work in progress. You go on the right, although Emerson's improved, he's still a work in progress. Kulusevski hasn't been there that long. He's a work in progress. You know what I mean? So you look in the middle, Sarr's work in progress. I mean, I'm not being negative in saying that. I like those players. I like most of those players, right? And I think it depends how we start under Ange.
Adrian, can I ask you? You mentioned the word progress and those players still being under progress, right? Is it a case that we need to give Ange time to sort of rebuild this squad with those players that still need progress, or would it be unfair to sort of expect too much from him too soon with those players that still need that progression? Because we made the mistake of sort of expecting a bit too much from the previous managers, right? Because we didn't have the funds to buy who they actually wanted. But now we've got players that have come in, your Dojis, your SARS, your Bisumas, and everyone else, and possibly a couple of centre backs coming in that might be under progress. Do you think that it's a case where we need to give Ange time? And if a few results go a bit, all over the place, do you reckon it'll be unfair to get on his back? I mean, what's your stance on that?
You have to give him the season. And look, Ange is 57. He's not a mug. He's an experienced coach, right? He hasn't coached in a Premier League. Everybody throws that one up. Fair enough. But if you're an experienced coach and you're working with the best squad of players you have, and that Spurs squad's not as bad as everybody makes it out. I mean, like I say, you fix the defence, you've got a good team. You've got plenty in midfield and plenty up front, right? So surely he's wise enough to think if he finds the Premier League a bit of a challenge to impose his methods on the players, for the players to impose his methods on the field, then okay, then put the extra defensive midfielder on. Play 2 there and play with 1 until you get over. What's happened? My screen went, sorry. Yeah, play, I think he's wise enough to change things. You've got to give him a season at least, especially with all the new players we've got.
So, Adrian, I just want to ask, sorry. So I'm just going to borrow a word from Mr. Box Office, because he always makes a statement every stream I watch him on. Okay, so to me, I think he makes a very good point. So I look at, for example, Pochettino, which everyone loves to talk about, right? There was that Villa game where he spoke about how he was almost on the brink of being sacked. So if he lost that Villa game, I don't know if he would have been sacked or not. Like, I don't know, but I think he makes a point. Alex makes a very good point. And do you think that the club will stick by him if we go for a very, very, very rough patch like that? So we lose 3 or 4 in the trot, like we did, for example, under AVB, and they sacked him. I remember. Do you think? And then from then on, if they do back him through like a really bad stretch, like obviously Arsenal went under Arteta, do you think you can see him staying, say, for like 3 or 4 seasons, like Arteta's done at Arsenal, or obviously Pochettino ended up doing at Tottenham? Like, do you think the big point will be when he goes through like a really bad run of games?
Yeah, but you don't give a new coach a 4-year contract if you're not going to back him in at least his first season or season and a half, in my opinion. You just don't do that. I mean, because most contracts now are 2 or 3 years. Most coaches out there rarely last 2 years unless they're successful. And I think there was something like 60% of them never get another job in football again or something. So no. And I mean, they're trying to back him. I mean, we've seen positive changes at the club, haven't we? They've tried to restructure the footballing side, which has been long overdue. The academy side at all levels, coaching as well. All right, we haven't got a DLF in yet. With Scott Munn's due to start, but it hasn't stopped us from functioning. I think we'll No,
I'm just saying, like, do you see during that bad run of games when there's some fans who will be calling for his head, for example, right? Do you see the club actually saying no, like Arsenal did with Arteta, saying no and ignoring the fans pleased to sack him, for example, and keeping him? Or do you think Levy, I'm just basing this on his past behaviors, right? Do you think he'll stick by him, or do you think he'll, if this happens, if say Ange doesn't have a bad run of games, this conversation wouldn't even happen, but say he does, he loses 5 on the trot or 3 on the trot, and there's people calling for his head, do you think the club will stick by him? That's the only.
I think they will, and I think,
okay.
I think in general, I mean, you're always going to a new season. Fans will always go into a new season being positive, isn't? Otherwise, what's the point, you know? But I think fans' expectations are quite mixed. Going around podcasts, those that think, yeah, we'll get top 6 or we'll even get top 5, and those that think, oh, we'll finish about 8th or 9th, and some will finish we'll finish mid-table. So I don't think the fans are going to be harshly critical too soon. They'll be harshly critical of players, because when aren't they, right? But I don't think they're going to be harshly critical of him. Not after we've had 3 managers in 2 seasons. You know, we need to give someone a chance, don't we? Otherwise, you know, we carry on. We carry on the same way, which is not satisfactory at all, is it? You know. So, like, no, do
you think he has more leniency then, because he's not a Conte or a Jose or even like a Poch, because obviously he's mostly an unknown sort of quantity.
The big difference is
attacking football, I guess.
Mourinho and Conte were put on big wages with the promise of Mourinho turning and leaving. Actually said, I can get a tune out of this team, but he didn't, and he did get 7 players in and all that, you know. But he didn't get a tune out of them. He you know, and Conte again at the end didn't want him. In the end, he cut and run. He wasn't sacked. He just cut and run, you know, which I think was poor. I think that was poor. But, you know, and the club knew he was going, so they should have been better prepared and been looking. This is another thing, the forward thinking. They should have been looking, or you should always have a list of managers anyway, or a list of players you need in positions, right? Just in case things do go wrong. You know, it's forward thinking, you know. I mean, apart from the forward thinking, you look at a squad, right? Now, 25 players. At the moment, I think we've got 20 foreign players. We can make 8 homegrown easy. We've got about 12. Right? But, goalkeepers.
Adrian, Marcus McNamara here. Big up to Marcus McNamara as well. Welcome to the show. He says, it's a rebuild. We need to give it time. We all said at the time of last season, or end of last season, I think we shouldn't have too high of expectations. If we can see progress and good football, not last season's tripe. I mean, he's got a fair point there. Last season was a catastrophe. This season, I think everyone just pretty much wants to see good football, wants to see some sort of progress. And, you know, a word that I've used time and time again is that word ambition. You know, the club and the players need to show that ambition and willingness to try and sort of compete and win something. But, you know, I'm not saying we should do that next season, but as long as they show it on the pitch, you know, not like last season where we'd come out first half or the second half, it was like potluck, really. Would you agree with what Marcus McNamara says?
No, we should be showing ambition. We should be going out wanting to win something this season. We should be going out wanting to win the domestic cups minimum and getting into Europe. It's not like I mean, like, if not, I mean, like, what does he want? If not that, I mean, if not that, what do you actually want? I mean, like, what would you be satisfied with? I mean, I wouldn't be satisfied going into the season thinking mid-table. I want Europe and a domestic cup. That's what I want. That's my expectation. Now, we may not get it, but it's a bit like I live a mile and a half from the ground. I walk to the ground. I wouldn't leave my front door this Sunday to go and watch that friendly, right? If I thought we were going to lose a game, I would never lose. But on the practical side, when I've not got my game head on, right, and I'm thinking about the team, I realise, like, we are a work in progress. And we are a work in progress. And when people say to me, oh, no, not another project, not another project. Listen, football clubs are always projects. Success is not final, right? And failure is not certain either. So you're always, all aspects of the club should be rolling along. You know, you should still be trying to bring in young players in, improve all the academy levels, as well as the first team. You know, we should continue with the restructuring on the football side. There has been progress on that area. And we have our recruitment has got better. It has got better. We need a lot of it because we went 518 days under Poch without bringing a player in. Players' legs have gone. They no longer the high press. We were the youngest team in the Premier League when we were getting second, third, and fourth. Then we got sixth, seventh. What was it? Sixth, seventh, fourth, and eighth. In the following seasons. So that's not good enough for a club of our stature. We are a big club, and so, but so the squad. It is a decent squad. What we've got. I mean, the 3 players we brought in. I mean, I always go and look. I put videos of all these new players, like the Argentinian player, I forget his name, Elogi Velix, or forget his name. There is. I put whenever we get linked with a player, I put them on the page because what I want the fans to go and look at the player rather than comment before they've seen him, or comment about the price tag, or he's too cheap and all that. Actually, or he's too young and all that. And that's another thing that gets me, too young. I think clubs will go for slightly younger players now because if they get to 27 or 28, whereas they normally stay on you at 30, Arabia might be the destination. Then you might not hang on to them. So, I mean, no, it's a fact, isn't it? You might not hang on to them. So you think, but if you get a younger player, the chances are they will be a bit more ambitious. You know what I mean? How many younger players are going to go to Saudi Arabia? I mean, like, you can imagine the trolling they'd get if they left, if a 23-year-old went out there who was good. So I think the age group of big clubs buying players, I think that will drop a bit. But
I think Ange likes to sort of utilise young players anyway. He likes to have young legs in the team, bit of experience mixed in with the youth in the team as well. So it bodes well. Look, as long as we can show that we want to do something, we want to build something. I'm all for buying younger players for the future. We all know Kane's not going to stay with us forever. He might be off this season. He might be off next season. We don't know yet. But one thing's for sure is that he's not going to sign a new contract and he probably won't be here next season. Before I get on to the next few questions, I just want to send a big shout out to everyone in the chat right now. Big shout out to Mr. Ben Kaufman as well, the mod father himself. Thank you very much, Ben, for modding for us. Iggy and everyone else in the chat, thank you very much. We do have one more person behind the scenes who I'm just going to bring on now. It's Elias from Step Up Spurs. Elias, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing there?
Not too bad. Thank you. So, look, you've been listening to everything that we've spoken about just now, Adrian, myself, and Haz. What's your take on things at the moment with, how the club has handled pre-season, and how do you see it sort of progressing, building up to that last game? To that first game, should I say, rather, against Brentford?
Listen, I think if I speak, a lot of people are gonna say that, I'm being too negative. But yeah, I will say what I feel. In my opinion, I'm not really impressed currently with whatever I've seen so far. Like nothing really. I don't see anything that you can say that it's an improvement per se. Like yes, there's some form of an attacking football, okay, but yeah, defense is still poor. So yeah, what you can say actually, if you're conceding goal against teams like West Ham, who hasn't signed a single player this window, and if you're conceding goals against a team called Lion City Sailors, which league doesn't even exist in the league standings. I don't know where to draw the positivity from. Yes, I think positivity, if you want to draw, you can say that yes, there were some decent performances, like from the likes of Madison. I think he's a good signing, definitely, since the transfer window has started. And then the other one, I'm kind of impressed with Vicario as well. He's a decent signing. But overall, otherwise, like I don't see the on-pitch product is not there for me at the moment. Like I think there's still much more work that needs to be done with the squad, and Postecoglou, I think he will be working a bit with them. But again, I feel also even I'll give him the benefit of doubt as well. The preseasons were a bit too early, like I think a week or two, and some players just came a week before the preseason, so you can't expect much. Like they will go in straight away and start working in together. And then they had to travel all the way to Australia, like what Adrian was saying. I think that's kind of like a hectic travel routine as well, which we kind of understand that, yeah, they have to go there because Mostly our club sponsors are from that region of the world, so it's kind of like the problem that comes along with all those sponsors as well. So if I were to say, I think there's still a lot more work that needs to be done. Center backs, definitely we need to get them ready. Depth. So I would say that Mickey One, he's a decent signing. He is not the best I think we could have, but it's Spurs, so I think I would take him. He's still better than Dyer, Davis, Langley, and all that Sanchez and all that we have at the club. So I think I'll take him. But I think we need at least one more center backs, either in the form of Tosin, either Rabayo, or either it's Tapsoba. I'll take either one of them. I don't think that we will get Tapsoba, but even if it's Tosin, I'll get him. Or even like, let's say, if it's a young center back like Ashley Phillips, if he can make tackles, if he's defensively good, I would take it. Like, I won't be too harsh on the signings. Like, okay, this player's bang average and all that. As long as there's an improvement from what we had from the previous squad. Like, if we are upgrading ones the likes of Sanchez, Dyer, Davis, I think for me that's a decent window in terms of your defensive upgrade. And that's the main area that we've been all saying for a long time, that yes, it needs to be addressed. So these are my general feelings so far along the transfer window and what I've seen so far from the preseasons. Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. I mean, there's quite a few that shares the same thoughts as you, Elias, especially when it comes to defender situation as well. So look, I'm going to bring us on to the next question, and I want the chat to get involved as well with this question. Let us know your thoughts in the chat. Højbjerg and Ndombele, two players who have been mentioned as possible departures, or possibly even staying, one of them. But if you could get rid of one of those players, which one would you get rid of? Reasons why, and why you'd get rid of or you'd keep. So, I mean, I'd start with Adrian first. Adrian, which one would you keep? Which one would you sell, and why?
No contest, Ndombele goes for me. Leopards don't change their spots. He's not going to improve. He's got a fantastic skill set. If he was to be kept, he owes the Spurs fan base an apology for walking slowly off the pitch against Morecambe 1-0 down. I wouldn't keep him. I think Ange's taken to Lo Celso. I can understand why. He's looked good, but it's only pre-season. But then I question his attitude and whether he really wants to be at Spurs. But to keep to the Højbjerg situation, at the moment, unless he goes to Atletico Madrid and we get a Kessian if he doesn't go to Saudi Arabia on big wages or something like that, what happens if things go a bit awry with Ange's plans and his systems? Who are we going to bring on to stiffen up the midfield? We've got no one. Like we're saying, we struggle for a number 6. But Zuma can beat the press. Brilliant player. Love him. Right? But you need a tank in there. Most teams have got tanks, haven't they? Man City have always had someone there with the dark arts as a number 6, whether it's Ferdinand or Rodrigo, whatever. You've had Matic and others. You could name Makaleli going back days. But you've had some. You really want, unless you're a stocky 5'10" psychopath with a football at your feet, you want someone who's over 6 foot with a broad pair of shoulders on your number 6. You want someone who intimidates the attackers. I mean, if Skip was there, he can get pushed aside. Things like that. It's one thing. So we need a tank in midfield. I'd keep Højbjerg every day. I think I posted him the other day. Would he get 4 goals, 5 assists? And it's something like an 88.6% passing accuracy. All right, that's deceptive, because if you're a Dyer, you could probably get 90% if you're passing sideways or backwards. So that can be deceiving. But look, Højbjerg played 35 games for us last season. And when he has one iffy game or he's off game or he misses his mate Bentancur, the Spurs fan base doing the usual judge, jury and executioner, like he gets it. You know what I mean? I mean, players need to be given, respect. They need to be respected for what they contribute, to the team. Højbjerg, he's more than done his job while he's been at this club.
Yeah. That's fair enough, Adrian. Absolutely fair enough. Elias, what do you think? Ndombele, Højbjerg, which one stays? Which one goes? Let us know, bud.
I think I kind of very much resonate with Adrian on this one. I think for me, Højbjerg stays. If I were to choose between Ndombele and Højbjerg, but from the looks of it, I think both of them are going because the offers are coming for both of them at the moment right now. But if I were to choose between the two, I'll choose Højbjerg. The reason being is I don't think Højbjerg has been poor for us. Like, he has never been a poor player for us. But the problem I think currently that's arising with Højbjerg is like we are not moving anywhere further with him. He is not the player who has like performed exceptionally. He lacks a bit of creativity. He is not the kind of player like who is dominating the midfield. He's not the kind of player who is actually giving active challenges and winning the ball back. And yeah, so that's the constant issue that we've been having with Højbjerg. Like, we are kind of like stuck with him at the moment. But he's a decent player. Like, at times he can score goals. He can provide you one assist here and there. And even like when he plays for Denmark as well, he's a crucial player, even for the Danish team as well, as their coach rightly put it as well. So if I were to be given a choice, I would keep Højbjerg as a backup on the bench, like, because our midfield is not that great. Like, yes, we do have the numbers in terms of our midfield, but again, Højbjerg, I think he stands for me in the top 5 or top 4 midfielders at the moment that we have, I think, in our team. But currently, I think the thing with Højbjerg is we have to sacrifice him maybe to get some funds in, because he's one of those midfielders who's been playing with us constantly as well, who has had some decent performances. So if we sell him, we can like cash in a bit more on him compared to anybody else, like whatever you might get on Lo Celso or you might get on Ndombele. So from Højbjerg's side of things, I think why I see him going is very much from the business side of things, because you want to get center backs in, you want to fill in some other positions, then I guess you need to sacrifice a player like Højbjerg. And that's what I think the clubs usually do. So if Højbjerg goes, I won't be that sad. Like, if let's say a decent center back comes in, but yeah, Højbjerg for me should stay.
Okay, so that's 2 for Ndombele to go and Højbjerg to stay. Has, I'm going to come to you with the next one. But before I come to you, I just want to say, Iggy, where are you? I want your point of view on this as well. Let us know in the chat.
Yeah.
I really want to know your opinion on this, because I think most of us in the chat do as well. Also, big up everyone in the chat at the moment. I have put a link up on there for to come onto the show. Those that want to come on, ask questions, get involved, please do click on the link there. You will be invited to come on soon after. So Has Højbjerg or Ndombele? Now, Højbjerg's been, look, he's been a subject of many conversations. Ndombele, much more conversations. And both have sort of been linked with teams this season. I think Ndombele was quite recently linked with Galatasaray for somewhere in the region of 8 to 10 million or
11 million, like I think.
Or 11 million with add-ons. But look, out of the two, who stays? Who goes? Who gives us more?
Well, I have to agree with the other two guests on here. Definitely Højbjerg. My reasons are quite similar. Also, I kind of haven't forgiven him since he walked off against was it Morecambe, right? Yeah, it was like the Hossam Ghali moment for him. If you remember Hossam Ghali when he took off his shirt when he got taken off under Martin Joel, and that was it for him. Also, just his work rate's poor. I never really felt like he wanted to really be at Tottenham and Ndombele. I think he got the move, and then when he came, he felt like he didn't really fit. Like, it just doesn't seem like a right fit for him. Also, I think if you look at Ange's system, we're playing 3 in midfield, right? And it's important that at least one of those plays like a holding midfielder. And what's the point? And so I think you need to have Højbjerg at least as like an option there with Skip, maybe. So you play one of the two. Because I think it also remains to be seen if Basuma can play that role in that 3 yet. Because I know everyone's favoured 3, including myself, by the way, on paper, is Basuma, Bentancur, and Maddison. Everyone seems to say that 3 most of the time that I see online. But if we're being like someone that we know can do that role, Højbjerg is definitely the person. And Ndombele doesn't offer anything for me. Like, you need to just cut your losses. At any other club, I'm going to say, so any other football club, after 1 to 2 years, Ndombele would have been shipped out. But because at Tottenham, we keep players to try and retain their value or get back their value, and Ndombele is still here.
So, I mean, beginning of pre-season, right? Ndombele's just won the Scudetto with Napoli, and we've had quotes come in to say he wants to come back, he wants to knuckle down, he wants to fight for his place at Tottenham. Now, Where do you think those quotes have come from? Have they come from Ndombele? Have they been fabricated? Because those quotes were posted everywhere. We all know that he's got talent, and this isn't me sticking up for Ndombele or saying he wants to stay or not, but we all know he's got the talent. Okay, we've seen it at Lyon. We've seen glimpses of it. But if he wants to stay, you know, does he stay? Does he can and utilize his talents? I mean,
are we saying he's staying now or he's not staying now?
I'll refer to Scott M's comment here. Scott M seems to be one of the only few who, you know, at a push will keep Ndombele because he's got some sort of talent over Højbjerg. What do you reckon?
I just don't. He doesn't got the work rate. He doesn't want it. So I just think we're just wasting our time. Like I said, at any other football club in 2 years, they would have sold him because he's just not fulfilling what he came here to do. But at Tottenham, like with Lo Celso and Regulon, I think to a lesser extent, but we keep these players for a long time because they cost more, and Levy wants to get the value of what he paid for them. But if a player just doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You need to sell him as soon as. Like I said, any other club, 1 or 2 years, he would have been. I think Ndombele would have been sold. Like if he was, say, Ndombele went to Chelsea that summer, and he had 2 years under manager. I don't know who, but I guarantee if it didn't work out, they would have sold him by that point. But Spurs, we've loaned him out. It hasn't worked. We loaned him out back to Lyon. It didn't work. Even that club, obviously, we signed him from. It's just we're just being a dead horse at this point with Ndombele. But I can see where people are coming from. If Ndombele is going to stay, like out of the fact of shorter numbers or something like that, you're going to have to use him as a super sub because I don't think he can play 90 minutes.
I don't want no super sub. Reading between the lines, Napoli win the league. They've got Champions League football, which Ndombele could have, and he wants to come back to Spurs to prove himself. I mean, come on. Something's gone on there. They don't.
Do you think it was an agent thing? I think it was his agent.
Oh, right. And they now fancy Lo Celso, like, because Lo Celso showing some form, you know. And what gets me is, like, the offers these European clubs make for Premier League players is an absolute joke. They really are taking the mick with their offers, you know. I mean,
interesting. You mentioned Lo Celso, Adrian. Does he stay for you? Does Lo Celso stay for you? Because for me, if you're asking me, he stays out of those three.
Yeah, he would stay. If Ange wants him, I'm happy. Ange, I trust. Let him get on with the job. If he wants Lo Celso, that's fair. I rated Lo Celso before he came to Spurs. I'd watched him play for Argentina. I raved about him to people, right? And he probably had 2 little spells at Spurs each time he got injured or was off to Argentina, where he looked like he's going to come on and be the player we thought he was. Then it went backwards, and it was Mourinho signed him fully. He was still on loan, so Mourinho must have fancied him, right? And then, this is down to Ange, isn't it? The thing that gets me if we sell him. I mean, I haven't seen much of McAllister, but he went to Liverpool on a buyout clause. I'll come to my reason in a second. For 35 mil from Brighton. McAllister wouldn't have got in that Argentina World Cup winning side if Lo Celso was fit. So if McAllister's worth 35 mil, then Lo Celso's got to be worth the same, in my opinion, if you sell him. This transfer market and the prices, it's up and down like a yo-yo. It's very hard to judge, what players will go for or not. If Galatasaray have offered 8 mil or 10 mil for Ndombele, sell him. Get rid of him.
Interesting. I mean, chat, do get involved, chat. I mean, what do you reckon? We sell Galatasaray for 8 to 10 million. I mean, that is a huge loss on a player. But, we've made the mistake now. We have to move on, some way or another. We have to move on from all these mistakes. We have to give the manager every chance, every opportunity to start clearing this squad out. My question would be, what other players do we get rid of? Because we have to make way for more signings, and especially in that centre-back position. I think the midfield at the moment is quite stacked in terms of players that might be surplus to requirements. But certainly Ndombele and Højbjerg would probably be the 2 that would go. And I don't know who the other 6 is that would bring in, but, that's
just on the midfield being stacked. This is a bit earlier. I sort of alluded to like forward thinking, right? Now, with 11 players, you double it, so you've got 22 for each position. Then you've got an extra goalkeeper, 23. That leaves you 2 extra places, right? Now, I wonder if the club are forward thinking. I doubt it. But with something like the African Nations Cup in January, starting on, I think, the 13th of January, going to the 11th, you've got a period of 4 weeks there when any African players we've got are away. Well, Sarr and Bassoum would definitely be away, and so would the likes of Kessie if we got him in. So that would be 3 away. If you only had 6 midfielders, you're now down to 3. So I wonder if the club take due consideration. I hope the coaching side do. I wouldn't expect Levy to. And it's the same in the balance of squad. If it wasn't midfielders, if it was like strikers were away or defenders were away, if we're going to have a squad of 25 and we've got them 2 extra places to fix positions, they should be well thought out players you bring in case players away. I mean, I don't think this year they've got a South American, no Copa America or nothing, but you have got the African Nations Cup in January. So I wonder if the club think about this. I doubt it, but it's something I would take into consideration because I think it's important. If we had injuries, then you can imagine the hue and cry. It doesn't take much to set the Spurs fan base off, right? So, So,
Adrian, do you remember when we had Adebayor back in the AVB and he went to AFCON and we were left with like no strikers, and I think AVB put Dempsey up front. Like, we don't want that same situation again.
No, we don't. We need to have we need to have the strength in depth. I mean, it may be that you could have backup academy players. You know, what's going to happen with Parrott and he's younger, Scarlett. He can go out on loan. Parrott started well, gone off the pace. Now he's like fighting to get his game back again, isn't he? You know, so we'll see. So we'll see.
But I don't think we'll bring in Parrott or Scarlett back from loan. I think they will go out on loans again. From the looks of it, I think the guy that we're getting from Argentina, it seems like he is a Postecoglou signing. From my understanding, although there are a lot of people who are saying around that yes, that Argentinian guy, I think his name is Leo Willis. So if he comes in, I think that kind of like you have a bit of a player, I think, in him. Apparently, he is the kind of player that he's a good target man. Like, he's good at scoring goals. He is good at like in the box. But he's not good with like anything like playmaking. He can't play even, I think, very well on the wing as well. He doesn't provide that sort of a thing. So I wonder like how would he turn out to be. Like, there are certain journalists that are saying that kind of a player usually, if let's say that kind of player comes to a Premier League from Argentina, that kind of player hasn't worked very well in the past as well. So let's see how it turns out to be. But again, I think if Ange Postecoglou wants that player, no worries, man. I was just listening. If that kind of a player just comes in and if he can play well, I think I'll take him over Parrott and Scarlett. But even that Leo guy, he has the numbers as well in his record, like in his.
Elias, what makes you want him over Parrott or Dane Scarlett? Because I mean, I can also chat now. Has anyone actually seen Veli's play? Has anyone actually seen what he's capable of? I mean, we've seen.
I watched the video of him this morning. I watched the video of him this morning. He's one of those players that you get the younger player that it's like when you look at Kulusevski. If he was 30, you would understand he was 30 because he's got the stature and build to be in the Premier League. Now, a friend from Argentina, he's 6'2". He's strong on the ball and he's got good hold-up play. But he's more. I've only seen him more as a goal poacher, but he looks. Well, they all look as though they got potential on videos. What I tend to look for when you know the video is going to be good is like whether a player's got good vision, moves the ball quickly, and can make things happen, and intelligent awareness as well. Now, obviously, it depends whether the player's a striker, a midfielder, a defender, goalkeeper, or whatever. Different skill sets required, but yeah, so. No, he looks like he's got potential. Would he do well in the Premier League? I haven't got a clue.
I think you can say he's a little bit like the Saka, a bit in the a target man type of Saka. Can you say that? I think maybe.
You mean Saka from Arsenal?
Yeah, something along those lines. Like,
I mean, Saka's a winger. It's not really a target man, but Yeah, I mean,
if you consider his on the ball attributes, very much like Saka, but like let's say in the final third, he has the attributes of a striker. That's what I'm trying to say.
I mean, what's the point? Says he's very confident on the ball. Reminds him of Harry Kane, perhaps in height and stature. Yep, maybe. And you know, perhaps the club have looked at him as a possible replacement for the future. You know, obviously, there's talks that he's going to go back to his parent club for the rest of the season or until January at least. And then, you know, is this any indication? Even let's talk about that. With Harry Kane, is it an indication that they're planning ahead for his departure? Is he likely to stay this season and go on a free next season? I just wanted to sort of swiftly move it on to that because it is a talking point everywhere at the moment. You know, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Obviously, we had reports this week that talks broke down over the fee. And then we had numerous reports that Bild newspaper said that, you know, it's just a ploy, marketing ploy by Bayern Munich. So there's all sorts of stuff coming out. Harry Kane has quoted himself apparently saying he's going to stay if it's not sorted out by the time the Brentford game comes around. So there's all sorts of stuff going around at the moment. Anyone in the chat, if you know anything more, please let us know. But yeah, what is going on? What's your take?
The news is that we were like I think 20 million or 25 million away, but the latest one has emerged is that Levy is insisting on a buyback clause for Harry Kane. That buyback clause, I don't know how much is it right now, but there are certain sources that are reporting that there's a buyback clause. And if Levy were to sell him at 85 to 90 mil, then he wants to insert that buyback clause. But if he wants to sell him at something like 100 mil, then yes, the buyback clause doesn't go. Apparently, from Bayern's side, the German media is reporting that yes, Bayern are preparing to improve on their bid to something like 95 to 98 mil plus add-ons, and that
euros or pounds.
Pounds, I think it's pounds, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So yeah, so if from the looks of it, I think he is going. Now again, the other question that I was having this chat with someone was earlier on, like, is it really bad that we are interested? We want to insert a buyback clause in it. That's a question that I was having a discussion with someone earlier. We can discuss on that later. But from the looks of it, I think Harry Kane is going. But the fact that he has given the ultimatum as well, and then the other one that all the media news and all that, and also because it's kind of late, I think that's what he's referring to here. So the thing is that regarding Harry Kane, recently also I think I found out that tomorrow Ange Postecoglou has cancelled his pre-match post-conference that he wanted to have.
We're going to talk about that actually. Yeah.
And from the looks of it, I think the question was around that. Ange apparently wanted Harry definitely, but now he's going to get that question over and over again, and they have, I think, avoided that press conference to not answer that question.
Yeah, that's definitely swerving awkward questions at not having that press conference. The Kane situation is interesting. I mean, I don't know how well informed he is about the goings on at Bayern recently. Last year, they just scraped the league because Dortmund blew it. But there's been a lot of bloodletting at Bayern last season. You got Marnie punched Sani after a game. He's 32. You've got Gravenberg, Sommer, Pavard. They're rumoured to be wanting to get rid of 4 or 7 players. They've had boardroom arguments like hell, you know. And to be honest, I mean, I want Kane to stay, so I'm a bit biased, but I don't see the attraction of Bayern. You can win a German league and a German cup. I think rivals here or any Kane haters, because he plays for Spurs, they're only sneer at it. That's why when you win a trophy with a club, no matter what trophy it is, it's for you and your tribe, isn't it? And ignore everyone else because they're always going to slate you anyway, right? But European Champions League, Bayern, as they are now, no chance. Not when Man City put 4 past them and Real Madrid have improved and Barcelona have improved. Then you've got Italian clubs like Napoli and the 2 Milan clubs which might be on their level or better. Nah, no chance. So I don't see the attraction. If Kane's being shrewd,
Sorry, Adrian, hold on. You don't see the attraction in Bayern for Kane to go there? Is it what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it. I mean it, because he's not guaranteed. He's not going to go there and win the Champions League. That's not happening. Not in my mind. I mean, I could be totally wrong. In my mind,
it's not nailed on. It's not nailed on. Let's be honest.
No, Kane's best option is to sit tight for 6 months, because in January he will have the option of many European clubs, the Spanish giants as well. He'll have all the options of that. He gets a big signing on fee wherever he goes. He gets top wages, and if he gets to like Ange Ball, I wonder why he come out with that other thing the other day. Maybe he's start to like Ange Ball in training. Maybe he's having second thoughts. I hope he is, because Kane, let's be clear, right? Let's be perfectly clear. When that story came out about Kane promised to join Bayern, that is the biggest load of BS under the sun. And the reason it is, if he'd promised Bayern that, now his brother and his father might have, Charlie and all that might have, but if he'd promised Kane, that story would have broke earlier. Have you noticed that the German media have gradually trying to twist and tighten the screw and trying to add something else to the story each day? Build, or I call bilge, right? Because that's what they are. I mean, they're just a load of crap. Now they're talking, sent a letter to Bayern, don't buy old bones and all that. Well, you're really doing Bayern a good favour, the German media. I mean, like, it would never happen, would it, in the English media, no matter if there's two rival clubs, that a reporter from, say, the Times or the Telegraph is going to get a Ronaldo shirt and put like a Real Madrid on the back of it. He's playing for Man United. I mean, you could imagine the outcry over it. But in Germany, the culture's different, because, you know, they salivate over Bayern, and they want their league to have a higher position in the world, you know. So, and they don't have as many foreign players as they used to have when they were winning more things, and there wasn't so much money. So as they were a successful club, more players went there. Now it's not the case. Players are going where the money is, which is the Premier League primarily, you know.
Adrian, have you seen the build stories today? Sorry, has anyone seen the build stories today?
No, I heard, but I haven't watched it, so I didn't see it, because it's just.
There was some stories today, right? Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, saying that the build were criticizing Kane as a player now, saying something like something along the lines of slow, he's slow, or something like that, and it's like the German media suddenly turned on Kane.
The congested penalty area, they were saying
something like that. Yeah.
Like
no, like suddenly they're criticizing Kane now, and obviously the day or two before they're trying to push for Bayern to try and buy him, obviously. But it's just funny how it's all changed suddenly within a day, I find.
No, but
just quickly, I just want to say, Gary O'Neill, I've left your comment up there because everyone watching Tuesday night, Ashmatic is actually going to do a breakdown of Veliz for us on Tuesday night, 9 o'clock. Make sure you tune into that. He's got other players lined up as well, but Veliz is definitely one of those players. So make sure you keep it tuned. Also, please do make sure you hit the like button and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you very much to everyone in the chat at the moment. Like I said, do get involved. The link is in the chat. If you do want to join us, if you do want to have your say. Elias, sorry, I'll get back to you now. What was it you was going to say?
Yeah. So actually, I kind of agree with you. I think where Adrian is coming from, like, yeah, Bayern doesn't have the money and all that, and then also again, on the lines of that, yes, whether Bayern is really a contender, I think in the Champions League, I kind of disagree with you there. If you look at the Bayern squad right now, they are a proper squad at the moment, like as they were last season as well. When they lost out of City, I think, was it in the semis or quarters? I think they lost out of City, right? Semis. They lost out of City. I think the only piece that they were missing was a striker like Kane or Lewandowski. If they had that missing piece, I think there was nothing stopping for Bayern to actually win the Champions League. In those games as well, Bayern actually did look good, if you ask me. And given right now the situation that City is as well, I don't think City is doing really well this season in the transfer market as well. If you look at their back line, they've sold. Now Kyle Walker has gone out, and then you have Kyle Walker has gone out, or is he about to go, something like that? Cancelo has gone out already, I think.
So I think Kyle Walker is going to be staying at Manchester City. I think it was reported to be attracting interest from Bayern, but I think he's going to stay sort of as an elder statesman at Manchester City now. So That remains to be seen. To be honest, I'll take Kyle Walker back at Spurs for a couple of seasons.
I'll take him back at Spurs as well.
Just to answer Garage Classics, fair comment, Garage Classics. I haven't got an issue with it. My reasoning is based on the fact that the last time Bayern won the Champions League was 2019-20 when they beat PSG 1-0 in the final. It sticks in my mind because they thrashed us 7-2 at the Lane and I was there, right? So a painful memory in one way. But, since Lewandowski's gone and all that, they haven't been the same the last three years. That's what I'm basing it on. I'm not saying that Bayern... I mean, I remember pre-Champions League, it was the European Cup and Bayern won it 3 years on the spin, right? So I know the history and they've won 3 versions of this as well. So they've won it 6 times. So no, I'm not knocking the club. I'm not knocking German players. I don't rate their league, to be honest with you. But, no, fair comment. Garage Classics, fair comment.
No, Adrian,
Garage Classics says there's no attraction to staying with us. 0, he's saying, Ange most likely won't even reach peak Poch. Let's be perfectly clear. Kane had his chance and we all messed up. Time to move on. Would you agree with any of those comments or some?
Well, it's logical. If you're going the corporate way and knowing Levy, you sell him. You sell him because that's the best thing to do. But fine. But that's fine. Levy agrees the fee with Bayern. Now it's down to Kane. Will he say yes? Because Kane still has to say yes. I mean, we don't know. Family plays an important part of this. Heavily pregnant Kate Kane might not want to go. I mean, his family is settled here and all that. Other fans say that's not part of the debate. It's not part of the argument. That won't matter. Got good facilities in Germany, and things like that. So I get that. I get all that. But I just think Kane, for 6 months, all he's got to do is wait 6 months and everything. He holds all the cards in 6 months' time. All the cards.
Shout out to Gary O'Neill. He says, if I was Kane, I'd stay with us for this season, score 20 plus goals, and then walk down the road to Man U or Chelsea and break the Premier League all-time leading goal scorer record. Look, we all know that if Kane stays in the Premier League and doesn't go abroad, he's going to break that record, whether it's with us or anyone else. My only issue is that he walks over to Chelsea, which I hope he won't. But for me, it's either got to be United or City or someone like that, because obviously most of us wouldn't be able to stomach him going to Chelsea.
I have a different point on that. I actually don't mind if he went to Chelsea. If he went to Arsenal, though, I'd have issues. But Chelsea, I'm not.
I don't think that would happen, but yeah.
I know. But
the sounds of it, I don't think he'll go to Chelsea. Like how desperate they are looking for a striker, I think they'll get a top striker like Vlahovic.
Trying to get Vlahovic, I was hearing actually.
Yeah, they're going to get Vlahovic, I think, this window. And I feel that Vlahovic would be a great signing for them. Here's the thing: if Kane doesn't go this season, this is another thing I've been posing actually. Next season, he may have struggles finding a good club for him. Bayern would definitely replace their striker. I think they will bring in a top striker in their club. Then if not, Man United has already brought Holland, that guy from Denmark. I think already they have brought
Holland, yeah.
Isn't he only 19 or 20? I think
he's quite young, but he's a good striker. And I think
very young.
He's very young as well. But he's a good striker. Like he's a proper number 9 as well. And then Man City, who already have Erling Haaland. So I don't see him going to any Premier League club. And I think Bayern definitely, knowing how desperate they are for a striker, if they don't sign Kane in the summer, definitely by winter, they will fill in that role as well. So here is that chance as well that if Kane doesn't go anywhere right now, he may struggle in the end to find a good move to a club where he can actually, let's say, win something and then it's worth going to. So that can kind of play in the favor of Daniel Levy and Spurs. Maybe then he may extend his contract later next year if it doesn't work out this season. So this is, I think, is the window I think Kane should be opening for, because this time he has more options than what he may have next season.
Yeah, I have a different thinking of Kane. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, so I've known for since 2015 that Man United have been looking at Kane. Now, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that try and make a move for him this summer. I know they're signing Holland, but if they don't get him now, when are they ever going to get him? I guess if Kane stays for a year, he could go there still, but are they going to be able to wait another year, United?
Well, I think English clubs can come in from at the end of next season, but foreign clubs can come in from January, can't they? But if I take you back to the Eriksen situation, Levy wanted 60 million for Eriksen in the summer. It got round to January, and Inter Milan came in. We still got 16 mil for him. So people saying we'd lose out money wise on Kane, we won't get no 100 mil. But if there's a queue of clubs like Barcelona, Real Madrid, PSG would pay 120 million for him tomorrow, but he won't go there. Or Bayern would be out of the equation. And I think if it becomes a dogfight between Barcelona and Real Madrid in January, we could still get 40, 50 million for him. I think one of them would pay it to get the deal across the line. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but I mean, you would get something for him in January if Levy sold him abroad, because he wouldn't want him to wait to the end of his contract and perhaps even go to Man City to pair with Haaland, because Kane can drop behind him.
I mean, this was a scenario, right?
Sorry, Has just want to correct Adrian on something. Actually, we didn't get 60 million for Eriksen, by the way. We only got like 26 or 27.
No, we got 16 million for him. 16. I said Levy wanted 16. Levy wanted 60 million for him in the summer, and I think we got about 16 million for him in January. 16.
Went from 60 to 16. That's what Adrian's saying.
Yeah.
Oh, it was about 25, 27 million euros. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was that scenario where, if Kane does stay come January, if there's any teams sort of battling for the league, or they need a bit more depth in their team, look, Kane can go to any team and sort of get them over the line in terms of goal scoring. We all know that. But would that be, would it be worth our while doing that? Would it be worth Tottenham's while doing that? Because, we might be a shambles by that time. By the time January comes around, we might need a Kane as well, to stay with us. So I think it causes more complications. In my opinion, I think it needs to be sorted out now so that we can then move forward, because we all know Ange's come in. There's a rebuild going on. We need players. I still don't think we need to sell Kane to buy players. I don't think that. We are well within our FFP. We've got money there. Daniel Levy quoted previously as saying, we need to work within the parameters of FFP. We need to be ready when it comes around. However, everyone else is doing major business around us. Everyone else around us is rebuilding, buying players left, right, and centre, apart from us, because Levy wants to keep within FFP. We are the third largest for sports revenue in the world. It's unbelievable. So for me, whether he stays or goes, I don't think that should have an impact on the players that come and go, or the players that come. But obviously, losing any player of his quality on a free is a lot of money to be losing out on. So it's a gamble that Levy has to he needs to judge whether he wants to take that gamble or not, because in his eyes, does he keep him and go for the Champions League? I don't think we can get Champions League next season, because there's teams far superior to us at the moment. Your Manchester Cities, your Arsenals, your Manchester United, Chelsea's going to be up there, possibly. Liverpool's going to be up there. And then you've got the other teams around us as well, in Brighton, Aston Villa's looking fantastic. And of course, you've got Newcastle now, one of the new boys in the Champions League. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And I think the rebuild sort of needs to start from this season. If Harry's going to go, we say our goodbyes and we rebuild from this season. I don't know what the chat's take on it is, but that's my take on it.
Levy's in a no-win situation, whatever he does. Because you could say he could gamble on Kane's goals, giving us a successful season, meaning getting into Europe, perhaps winning a trophy. Or you sell, and if we have a bad season, we finish mid-table, then people are going to be on his case anyway. So either way, it's not.
For once, I agree with you, Adrian.
It's not good for Levy.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a fan, been brought up on so many good footballers at Spurs. To be honest with you, I don't give a damn about the money. I want to see the best players at Tottenham. I want to see Kane play. But the right thing to do is probably to sell him and get the money in. But You know, I mean, look, I'm resigned to whatever happens now. This saga has drawn on so long. Fans are absolutely like, they can feel the life force drowning out of them now, like this transfer window. I hate the transfer window, full stop. There's so much BS. I just hate it. But not long to go now till the season starts. Shit.
I was going to say, sorry, I was watching another stream. I can't remember whose it was, but a lot of people were saying that other clubs are spending now because FFP rules are changing, I think, next season or the season after.
Yes.
So a lot of clubs are spending a lot now because they know in 1 or 2 years they won't be able to spend as much. But obviously at Tottenham, we don't do that. We still spend the same as we spent 10 years ago. Well, not 10 years ago, but you know what I'm trying to say. And it's always the same sort of level. So isn't that the problem that Levy isn't going with the times in the sense he's still
it depends
back to where he was.
Yeah. We've spent badly, haven't we? We've spent about £350 million or something. So they said since about the Poch era and all that or something. It's an astronomical amount, you know, 100 million on Lo Celso and Ndombele, you know, 42 million on Davies and Sanchez. That's 150 million. The other players that have come and gone, when we brought in Bergwijn, Jensen, Nkudu, NG, you know, I mean, like, you give yourself a heart attack, you keep mentioning them all. And, like, we've spent loads of money, but our recruitment has been, poor is a kind word, but poor. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, the problem with us is, I think, again, the issue comes with the frequency at which we sack the managers. Like, you bought Lo Celso and Ndombele for Poch, and then a few months later you sack him, and then you bring in Mourinho, who is like completely a different type of a manager. And then you bring in Mourinho, you buy a midfielder like Højbjerg for him, and then a few months later you actually you actually fire Mourinho, and then you bring in a manager like Nuno, who is kind of different. And then you have players like Emerson Royal, you bought him for Nuno. You have Sergio Reguilon, you bought him from Mourinho. Then you bring in a manager like Conte, who doesn't rely on fullbacks, he needs bring back. So that's another problem that we have, where we don't have a structure right now. Like, we buy players for one manager, and then we cannot use those particularly suited players for that particular system for the other manager. That's the major problem, I think, that has been figuring out the whole problem for the last years. And that's all on Daniel Levy. And nobody else is to blame for that particular thing. You can't blame, I think, the recruitment culture as well. Like, even the scouts themselves say that, yes, they go out and then they point out certain players to Daniel Levy who are like much cheaper. And then he's the one who insists on not getting those players. Like Kim Min-jae, we could have gotten him for like 5-6 mil. But Daniel Levy didn't want to go for him. He went for Joey Rodon instead. Look at where Joey Rodon is right now, and look at where Kim Min-jae is right now. Kim Min-jae, his market value has increased up to 45 million, and Bayern recently got him. Joey Rodon has not played, I think, he has not even started 1 or 2 games more than that even for us. Like, that's the level of the problems that we have so far with our recruitment.
I think they signed Rodon because Bale recommended they sign him or something. That's what I was told.
Like, why are we listening to Gareth Bale? Like, seriously.
I know. I agree with you. I just don't, because that's what I heard. Yeah.
Well, it's because we couldn't get Skriniar and Torres and
They went to Italy and then they had a meal and then they came back. There were no Skriniar. That's why I remember the pictures. You remember the pictures of Steve Hitchen in Italy? He goes to this place and then he comes back out and then no signing.
Guys, what's happened to Scott Munn at the moment? There's been talks that, you know, he's been, you know, fenced off at the moment from joining Tottenham because he's on garden leave from Manchester City. Is there any news on that? Does anyone know what's going on with Scott Munn? Anyone in the chat or Adrian or anyone else?
Someone pointed out something to me,
but not officially, because he lives in Australia, so he could get around that. But I think he's not due to start until either the season starts or the transfer window ends, I think.
Yeah, there was it
hasn't affected us moving forward. We are looking at players to get players in. You've still got Gabbanini. You've still got Miley Fadenek, coach. You've still got, I think there's three or four on the main coaching and side there dealing with transfers and that. And it looks like Levy will be trying to get VDV over the line.
Scott Munn is not a footballing director. I don't think he will have any form of impact over your scouting, over recruitment. he's a pure marketing guy who might help you, like, let's say, enhance your relationships or your PR.
Yeah, he's going to be Levy's number 2, and he'll be in charge of the director of football whenever we get one, if we get one.
Yeah, the director of football will be just reporting to him and something like that. He may, I don't even know like whether he'll be striking deals or not. Like, even at the moment, recently there's a news that came out. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Certain members of the staff, they highlighted that Daniel Levy is always involved in any matter of the club, whether it's big or small. Wherever there's money involved, Daniel Levy is always involved. And inside the Tottenham staff, like even not just the board, inside the staff, they're kind of fed up with Daniel Levy for his micromanaging at that level. And that's causing a whole lot of unrest among the structure of the club as well at the moment. Like this news has been going around. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter how many people Levy puts below him to distance himself in theory from the footballing side of the club. He is the one who's going to sign the checks at the end of it. You know, he's the one who's going to sign the checks. It's not going to make no difference. He will sign them off unless he just goes to the group below and say, look, this is the budget we've got. If you sell players, you can use that money as well and add it to the budget, and I'll just let you get on with it. Right? So, but he's always going to be the one that signs off things. So
yeah. Sorry, Has, you want to say something?
Yeah, just a couple of more points I wanted to sort of touch on, and that is the centre backs that we've been linked with again. I want to sort of move on to the centre back situation at the moment, because we all heard from yesterday the Van der Ven deal is back on. Romano sort of mentioned it as well on his page, on his socials, that everything's been agreed. It's just the terms of payment with Wolfsburg, which Daniel Levy is in the process of discussing. Now, all well and good. Everything's agreed. Contracts agreed. Everything else spot on. It's just that matter of, you know, the money side of things. So
the extra 5 million.
I'll ask you all one by one, Isona. Do you think we'll get this over the line with Van der Ven? Adrian, I'll start with you. We'll go to Has and then we'll go to
well, there was one report, I don't know if you see it, that Wolfsburg were after a centre back for Sassuolo in Italy. So that on my ears drew my attention, because I thought, you're bringing a centre back in. So this might be what the delay is, right? So I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the report's true, but that's what it is. But if a deal was close with Wolfsburg, you know, you could see it. The other one, Tapsoba, well, they've got in Cappy and Tar there, so they've got centre backs. If we, they haven't got to go out and get one. But yeah, I think this deal's going to get done. I think the Phillips deal will get done as well. And if we can't get Tapsoba, I would take Adarabioyo from Fulham.
Yeah,
Adarabioyo from Fulham.
Mm.
Yeah, okay. Has
okay, it will get done, but I still stand by what I said to everyone today. Deadline day.
Deadline day, you reckon?
Yeah, it'll be that whole. Okay. We finally managed to get this amazing player.
It'll be. You're saying he'll probably be like a marquee signing before deadline day. Get everyone happy.
On deadline day will get announced. Like, you know, like with Porro, we spent a month trying to sign him, and then we finally got him. It just smells of that sort of. You know.
No, I think this signing will get done, but the problem right now I think they're facing is from the looks of it, if you look at the news properly, I think it's the payment terms, like how much you pay now, how much you pay later, and how much that sort of issues. Is not so much like they have agreed on that particular price that they want to pay, which I'm still surprised. The 50 million euros I think is a bit like Daniel Levy never does deals at that level, and if he's paying 50 million euros for him, then apparently the news is again active that we are still looking for Tapsoba to come in. So would Daniel Levy actually pay about 90 mil around there for 2 centre backs? Never ever he has done that before.
But this is the other thing though, isn't it? You know, when you're stacking up players, when West Ham and other clubs go out and buy 5 or 6 players, it's not because they've got the money to pay for them players. I mean, if you've got 30 million now, right? If Spurs have only got 30 million. You could put 10 mil down on 3 players, get them signed up, because you're going to be paying that money structured over the length of their contract or before their contract ends. So you're relying on incomings from future seasons to do that, right? So it's not, and it's the same, you know, fans, they say it to us, we get 100 million for Kane, we go out and spend it on. Hang about, you don't think Bayern are going to pay us 100 million one lump sum, do you? It doesn't work that way, does it? Again, it's structured payments. I mean, I hope Levy demands it in one lump. I hope he does. But I mean, it doesn't work that way. So, and we're not privy to the little finer details and the intricacies of these add-ons and what happens, you know what I mean, with these players. And
but then again, Adrian, we don't go out and pay everything in one lump sum either, do we?
No, we don't. We don't.
And Levy likes to structure his payments over however many years, over bonuses, things like that. So it's just the way it is now. Unless you're a massive, powerhouse of a club like Manchester City, who can just pay the whole lot. All these deals with most clubs are
if you're not owned by an rich state, basically, you're going to structure your payments. Yeah. Look at the Kulusevski payments. That's going to be over another 5 years, I think, at 5 million a year or something.
Well, Declan Rice, it must be over for like a long time, I think.
What's the point makes a well, if it's a valid point, I don't know, but he says, funny how the VDV deal was announced as close a day after the Tottenham Trust came out about the ticket increase price protest. So 2 things here. First of all, do we think it's a coincidence it's come out the day after? And also, what do we think about the protest at the moment? THSD has come out. They've mentioned the fact that they are going to conduct a protest outside the stadium before the game against Manchester United. How do we feel about that? And do we think that it's a coincidence, the timing of it?
You all go first. I'll go in the end on this one.
All right, I'll go first then. I do think the club do put out certain feelers or news stuff on purpose. So I do think it might not be a coincidence. As for the protest itself, I think well done to the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust. They're protesting for once or something. This is for a good cause, the ticket price increase. So big ups to you guys. So I don't think there's any issues with the protest actually happening, because if they're going to do it in any game, a friendly is probably the most idle game, and it's also the nearest game that we have that's at home. So there'll be no point in waiting until the season starts to do this protest. You've got to do it as soon as possible. And I don't think any of the protests I've been to have never been aggressive or anything, so I don't think this one will be anything like that either. If anything, it will probably be the most peaceful protest that will ever happen at Tottenham Hotspur, because it's from the Supporters Trust. And I think I'm obviously, touch wood, I'm lucky that I have a season ticket and I can go. But a lot of other fans who say used to go White Hart Lane where the ticket prices were a lot cheaper can't come to these new season with these new ticket prices, and you're pricing out, say, the average fan or fans even around. And let's be honest, Tottenham isn't like the best area, and people there are not always the most wealthy people. So you're pricing out a whole section of maybe local fans as well from going to games. So they have every right to protest this.
Yeah, you've only got once you say you're 42,000. Someone said it was 45 to me, so it could be corrected. So 42,000 season ticket holders. You've got 8,000 corporate. That's 50,000. 3,000 for the away fans. That's 53,000. That leaves something like 62,850. So you've got 9,850 tickets to sell, but that's providing you don't leave no spaces around the away fans for stewards and stuff. And I don't know about footballers' wives and girlfriends and stuff like that, right? So they go out to the Hotspur One, Hotspur Plus members, and you're right, Has, because I remember back going before the new stadium was built, they did a survey once, or it was at that time. I'm going back 20 years or more, maybe even 30 years. And at that time, only 3% of people in Haringey were season ticket holders at the club. Now, you had a lot more pedestrian supporters, but a lot of the pedestrian supporters have been priced out. I've got mates here. I live in Edmonton, like I'm 1.5 miles from the ground. I've got mates here that ask me, if you get tickets on general sale, can you get them for the League Cup or FA Cup when they're 25 quid each? Because they're not paying. My ticket works at about 65, 66 quid a game, and they just can't afford it. They just can't afford it, And that was pre-cost of living crisis. They couldn't afford it, So, the club need to make sure there's an enduring legacy of Spurs fans coming behind, because they're in danger if they turn it into a corporate, just a corporate, I don't know, centre for, for just
I know what you're saying.
Just an entertainment centre. Then like where are the future generations of fans going to come from? I mean, because over the years, obviously, a lot of people have moved out the areas, haven't they? That's what's happened. And that's why I've said that, you know, when I spoke to Brian Daigle about his movement, I said, well, I think a lot of problems, your protest, the demographics. I said, I think people have moved out. Those that come to games want to come in, meet their friends, have a pint, maybe something to eat, watch the game, and then they just want to get home. And it's murder getting to games now, anyway, for lots of them, you know, with train strikes and everything else. So, like, it's
not cheap. It's not cheap, I can tell you that.
It's not. And then to book and come in. This is another thing which really angers me. And then to come in, I mean, I know groups that Dorset Spurs come in, they're brilliant, right? They come up for the games and all that. And the last thing you need is like a change of date for Sky Sports or a change of kickoff when people have booked like train times or looked up their train times, or they're coming in, even if they're coming in from Ireland or America and all that, you know, and like you get these, I mean, fans need to be treated with a bit more respect. I mean, they are the lifeblood after all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not, like you said, it's not cheap. For me, I mentioned it on a few other streams, it's priced out a whole section of fans who, look, let's be honest, we're living in bad times at the moment. You know, there's cost of living crisis. There's people trying to put, you know, hot food on their tables and, you know, trying to get by, paying bills and stuff. And we're sort of raising ticket prices when we're not even in Europe. You know, we should.
And there's no logical reason for it. Away fans that travel, they pay £30 for their ticket. I pay 66 for mine, right? Now, so what would it be if every Premier League club only charged £30 for a ticket? They'd all generate a little less income, revenue. But if you got less revenue, you find that the more revenue generated by clubs, you know, the more the price of a player goes up, or the more his wages goes up. So why can't we just have the cut-off point and say, no, all ticket prices are £30. Spurs earn more money from outside sources. I mean, last year their income was something like 443 million total income, right? And about 100 million was about from the stadium, right? So you've got all your TV revenue, all your advertising revenue, all your sponsors bring in like 3 times as much as what the stadium earns, right? So or almost 3 times, 2 and a bit, or what? So there's no excuse for the ticket
shambles. It is an absolute disgrace, in my opinion. The ticket prices is completely unfair, considering, and Elias, I will get your thoughts on it afterwards, but it's completely disgraceful, you know, given the season that we've had last season as well, where, you know, fans were subjected to that football. We all know what last season was like. And, you know, to then say, actually, this season you're going to pay more. You know, it's just a massive kick in the teeth. Massive. Look, if we've got anyone in the chat that is, you know, is going to struggle with these prices, or is a season ticket holder, or just someone that tries to get a ticket now and then, please let us know. You know, have your say in the chat. What do you think of it? Because for me, it's nothing short of a disgrace. Elias, what do you think?
I think it's really a disgrace. I mean, I feel for the fans who regularly go for the games. I mean, I'm in Malaysia, so I regularly don't go, but I can feel that, yes, how much of a struggle it is. Let's just say for family, I've got friends actually who have like 2 or 3 kids, and if they want to bring their kids, especially into those kind of games, it's a struggle for a middle class family. For someone like that, it is indeed a problem. And why, out of all the times actually over the last few years when you have been in Europe, it makes sense that, okay, you actually increase the ticket price. Over this season, you one of your worst season, I think, possible in like how long, like quite a while actually, like 8-9 years. You increase the season ticket price is such a disgrace. And if you want me to ask to answer about protests, I think it makes sense like why Trust has now come out as well, and why they want to protest about the season ticket prices. Or not, sorry, let me rephrase it, because what I was told was actually they are combining currently forces with the Leave Out movement, basically just for this season ticket prices.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right.
It's not that they are forming an alliance or anything on an overall thing. It's just that they currently agree on this, and they want to protest together on the ticket prices, which actually makes sense to me. And a lot of people have been asking this question along the Twitter spaces and all that, and YouTube streams as well, that why is Trust only coming out like after a month or 2 days? I think the problem was Trust tried everything that they could in the past. Like, okay, they tried writing their email, they tried writing their letters and all that. And recently, Trust has had a change of leadership as well. So now the only action that Trust hasn't done, something that they haven't done before, is to now participate in some action, which is to take protests, which is to come in big numbers and then start protesting. Trust has never done that before. So now, since the season is starting, or you can say the home games are starting, like now we have the Shakhtar game and then we have the Man United game at home. So it makes much more of a sense to now for the Trust to come now rather than what they could have done earlier. Because earlier they could have done that usual stuff that they always do, like release a statement or write an email, which they know that it's not working. So it makes sense that yes, Trust, and big up to the Trust that yes, if they are taking that interest, I would say that yeah, I would actually back them up, that if they are raising that up with that voice up for the fans. And yes, there are still people who say that, oh, Trust did this in the past, Trust did that in the past, it didn't work and all that. But yeah, now what they are doing is what they are speaking for the fans. They are taking an action. So why not give it a try now? Why always look at the past, what they did in the past and all that? In the past they did whatever. It's in the past, guys. Seriously, you can't be like, you can't put them down for what they did in the past. Like, look at it now and back them now for what they're doing and applaud them, because they are speaking for an average fan, like maybe a middleman who has 3 kids, who wants to impart the DNA of Spurs into his family. They are speaking for that kind of a fan, so we should back it. Like, seriously, I get kind of annoyed when content creators and Twitter spaces, they bash the Trust and the movement for this one. Like, why are they coming out now only? Why they couldn't come out earlier? They tried everything that they could earlier. Now if they're going a step ahead, why not back them? Seriously, it just doesn't make sense to me.
And when they froze prices last year, they put the price of food and beer up in the stadium. And the guy from the Trust turned around recently and said, I was watching one of the podcasts he was on, he said, this increase not on season tickets because they were frozen, but the other tickets and exchange tickets all went up. He said,
yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's going to amount to £2 million, right? All right, £2 million is a lot of money to us, but in comparison to the overall revenue streams of the club, it's not. It's not. So, see, this is another thing, you know. See, Levy threw all his eggs in the basket, building us a wonderful stadium, training ground, and all that, right? And then when he's short of money, we're the ones who are going to have to pay for it.
Exactly.
You know, we're the ones expected to pick up the bill and pay for it.
I think it's sort of all gearing up towards a certain clientele, people who have the money to you know, be able to afford it, to go to these games, to indulge in to indulge in everything that the stadium has to offer. Only last week we announced a new partnership with a clothing brand where one jacket supposedly costs around £12,000. How is that? How is that staying in connection with the common folk who just want to go to a match to enjoy a good game of football, not necessarily to be buying merchandise, you know, linked with the football club or any other thing, you know. Tin Legs Tony here makes a very good point, which I never knew this. You know, 50 years ago, the match income made up over 80% of a club's revenue, as you can imagine. In 2022, it's made up 24% of Spurs' overall revenue. Wow. Now, that's got to be one of the smallest sort of part of the revenue or the income that Spurs get is from the match day.
And it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop because you've got Todd Klein, who's the commercial manager. I mean, during the last pre-season, we got Getter and Cinch came in to sponsor us, didn't we? Right?
Yeah,
and then I'm still looking with great curiosity, and I did ask the Trust, but they didn't know. Those of you who've been to games recently, we've got that hanging sky bar from the Paxton roof, has 600-ton roof, right? Which must be finished, hasn't been opened. And I can only surmise that will be leased to whoever gets the naming rights of the stadium, because it's got to be there for something. And if it could generate money and it's finished, it would be generating money, because knowing Levy, like Levy is, you know. So, and that's without in the south bank, in the south stand, the back of in the zone there's that 160-bed hotel to go up, which would generate more revenue. And you'll probably have teams that come and play us in Europe. They'll be staying there, you know, and whatever, you know, training at a training ground. I mean, America, Brazil, and the Italian teams have trained there. They loved it, like, you know, so they rent that out. So They reckon from our revenue streams will go up to about $500 million. So they're at 443. So it's not going to stop. And that's why I don't see in any time soon that Levy and Co will sell the club, because there's much more money to be made out of things around there. There are a lot of companies that own Spurs. There are a lot. If you go and look at the last financial report, you see it. There's a list of so many companies. I mean, there's two main ones. The old
So your academy is a different company. Your stadium is a different company. Your first team itself is a different company, by the way. And then you have the training ground itself. Then you have the hotel. Then you have the lodge. All of them are different companies.
Yeah, you the main two being Tottenham Hotspur Limited that own the stadium, and they get all the match day revenue and stuff like that. I'm not sure how the advertising split up. I mean, obviously they have different companies for the shops because they've got to produce different accounts. But the oldest company is Tottenham Hotspur Football Athletico Company Limited. But I think that gets the TV revenue and it holds the players' registrations. But there are loads of companies for different reasons, because you need to produce so many different sets of accounts for different things that are going on with the club. You know, there's property companies. We own property in Tottenham. There's property companies. There's loads. So, yeah.
Look, actually, I kind of have this problem as well when people say that, oh, Daniel Levy is a great businessman. Like, yeah, he is good at making money and all of that, and he is like the best businessman and all that. I think he is just a tight-fisted businessman. Like, he knows how to keep money with him. If you are a good businessman, he would think beyond. He would have a greater vision. Imagine like right now with your stadium and with whatever you have right now. Yes, you are getting decent advertising. You're getting some form of artists and all that. People do want some form of an association with you. Imagine if this club gets an investment of good players, a superstars start coming in here. Firstly, your jersey sales are going to go up, and eventually if you start winning things, you are like, let's say, a regular club as well, like let's say you are at the level that Man City is or what Man United is, you will get a lot more sponsors as well. You will get a lot more dealings with, you may even get the stadium rights done. Daniel Levy need to now consider that sort of a thing, rather than being just tight-fisted and being content with what he has with his limited business. And that's my problem right now when people say that, oh, Daniel Levy is a great businessman. He's not. If he is, if his business is where it was a couple of years ago and it's still where it is right now, he has not progressed as a football club, then he's not a great businessman in terms of managing this football club.
Not on a footballing side, definitely not. But you just made a good point. If you get a naming rights deal, say it is for that hanging bar, and say it's a Google, who are owned by Alphabet, who are worth $1 trillion, right? Or we get them to buy us out, even better, right? Or it's Microsoft, or it's Elon Musk, or something like that. So now you bring in a big name. Now, if you brought in a Google or Elon Musk, they have got hundreds of business partners, these people. So as soon as you bring them in, some of them partners are going to think, that shining jewel at Tottenham, that jewel in London, right? I want to be a part of that. So they'll come and sponsor the club. So you're generating even more money. You know, I mean, what we all want, what all fans want, whether, you know, what we all want is new owners that are going to invest heavily in the squad and clear our debt. That's what we want, because we paid £41 million in interest on that. And that was just interest alone last year. And that was published by the Premier League themselves. There was a pamphlet, I see it, and it said we paid £41 million in interest last year, because the last balance sheet showed a loss of 51 million. And the one before that, because that would have been part of the COVID season where there's no gate receipts and food and beer sold in the stadium, you know, about 5 million, 6 million a game, whatever it is. And the year before was worse because we had to borrow the loan, because we had no one in the stadium for virtually the whole season. So we lost the season off. The rent, it cost us about 185 million, but we were in a better position to bounce back. We paid that loan back because we have all these events at the stadium. Now, I don't conflate all the events with the protest to sneer at the club. To me, I don't see what harm they do. And all that money, if it goes through the club, it has to be generated through the club and be put to the football inside anyway. So I'm not against them. I understand why people sneer at them. But I understand that. But, I mean, I'm not against that, because if the stadium's not doing nothing else, why not utilise it to make some money, you know?
Yeah, I am not against that.
Sorry, yes. I just wanted to say, you mentioned you mentioned the fact that, you know, we want new owners to come in, invest in the team, buy some players and everything else. I mean, if we look across at Aston Villa, let's say, okay, they've had new owners come in. I believe Egyptian billionaire Nassif, I don't know if I can say his name right, but Nassif Sawiris and the American billionaire Wes Edens owns the club. But they've come in, right, and they've shown ambition. They've got into Europe this season, okay, and they've gone out, identified their targets. They're buying players that they need. They're showing that ambition that we so desperately need to show as well. I mean, that's all we ask for, right? That's all we ask for. We just want people to come in. We're not saying, you know, don't sort of be business minded or, you know, don't make any money off the back of any projects that you have. But what we're saying is, you know, show some passion for the club as well. You know, at the end of the day, it's the supporters and the people that follow the club that have made this club and given, you know, made this club what it is today. So
yeah, there's two issues with billionaires. One, I mean, the billionaires and Villa and even Wolves, if you go to the league, Lewis and that would probably be down halfway down it. But that's deceiving anyway, because it's not a question of how much you're worth. It's a question of like, how much cash flow have you got to invest in your football club? And ENIC, English National Investment Company, they don't invest in the club. They try to run the club in a sustainable way that it doesn't go bust and all that. And they make their money. You bought a house 30 years ago and you hang on to that property, it's worth 10, 20, 30 times what it is now. If they do this building work, they'll use part of their own money, right? And they'll make money, right? When the building's up, suddenly the whole Spurs, you know, the conglomerate of everything, the Spurs, the training ground, the shop, the stadium, the hotel, and all that, anything else, all the prop down, that all goes up in value. So like that is where they make their money. That's where they're making their money. I mean, Lewis will have businesses that he's dealing with. He's cut free now. There's a different company that's been put in where his family members stuff with a palm. Glinton, the name of the Bahamian lawyer. There's a different company on that list on that report that shows that that's in trust for his family members. Lewis is distant from us now. He's not part of that, you know, officially anyway, you know. So like, so we ain't got to worry about his court case and things like that bouncing back to bounce us. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So Spurs are like, I mean, the most heavily indebted club in the world, right? Football club. Man United being second.
We've got nothing to show for it, but United have at least something to show for it.
Yeah. Well, they generate a lot more. I mean, like Liverpool and United have got the best pedigree in the Premier League for around the world supporters, shirt sales and all that, haven't they? Because they've won so many European competitions between them. So Liverpool, United earn more than us. I think their best year they earned about 660 mil. If we earn 400, it's 200 mil behind a team is a long way behind. We should, in theory, never be able to catch them up. But then they'll pay that extra percentage in wages and blah blah blah, like, and pay that little bit extra for a player because it wasn't so long ago they owed about 600 million quid, and now they've started blind players again. So I imagine that debt they've got of 400 mil will go up.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
I mean,
100%.
So we have to find a way of paying off, like the mortgage, paying the interest and some of the money off that, and somehow have enough funds to fund the team. We need new owners, guys. We need new owners.
I suppose the ticket increases. We'll see to that then.
They won't cover that.
Being tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
I'm just being tongue in cheek.
Yeah, I mean, what do you get? I think in the year in the Champions League we made £60 million profit. Yeah. I mean, if in all your outgoings of all that hundreds of millions we're earning are being spent, people say pay more wages. Well, we have to work within our means because we are in the situation we are and we're heavily indebted. But that's why I'd like new owners. Come on, Bill Gates. Come on, Elon Musk. You know what I mean? Come in, buy this club, clear this debt. Because this club, I mean, I also think, I may be totally wrong, Levy's just waiting to see how much Liverpool and Man United are sold for. Right? which he will be waiting anyway because the hotel's not built on the ground, and that will take a couple of years to build anyway, right? And then budget. I mean, Chelsea was sold for what, about 2.5 billion, with about 1 billion to go. Admittedly, that is some of the most prime real estate in London, where Chelsea is, right? And then to put 1 billion in a team, 3.5 billion. I look at Chelsea's ground, which is smaller than ours, and and I look at our assets compared to theirs. And if their ground went for 3.5 billion, they're talking 5 or 6 billion for Man United. There's no way Spurs are going to be sold for less than 5 billion. No way.
Yeah.
And I believe there will be buyers out there that will surface. Everybody's took a hit through COVID, all these businesses around the world and all that, but they will surface because people need somewhere to put their money.
Yeah.
So when their fan bases are much bigger, which means that their sales and all that revenue that they generate from there, it also comes into their market value, which is way bigger than ours. Like if you're considering Liverpool and Man United, And again, if we were to sell the club, I think the stadium apparently will be a different. That will be a different deal. Like Enig won't sell the stadium together with the club sale.
So moving away from the sort of the money side of things, before we wrap up the show, let's move on to our first game against Brentford. First of all, I want to ask a couple of questions. What team do you see starting against Brentford? First question. And how many points do we all think we'll end up getting from the first 5 games? I will go through the fixtures. So we have Brentford as our first game of the season away. And then we have Manchester United at home. We have Bournemouth away the following week. And then the following week after that, we have Burnley away, which isn't going to be easy. And we have Tottenham at home. Sheffield United at home on the 16th of September.
Right, okay.
So, first of all, Brentford. Who do we see starting at the back, or just in general? What's your 11 for the Brentford game? And anyone can go.
Players or the potential players has.
Sorry.
With the current players or with the potential signings and all that will make?
No, current players now, because nothing's guaranteed. So the current set of players we have now, what's our 11 against Brentford?
I can go first. Okay, so first of all, I'm saying we get 7 points out of the first 15. Call it pessimistic or optimistic, whatever you want to say it. 11 I would go for. I know a lot of people won't agree with me with this 11. So I'm going Forster in goal. I'm going Emerson on the right, Davies on the left, Tanganga with Romero, and I'm going Skip, Bissouma, Maddison, and then Son, Porro, and Kane, if Kane's staying. Obviously, Kane's not staying, and I'm going Richarlison. But I don't think he'll play that. I think he'll start Vicario. He'll probably play Porro and Nadojo as the fullbacks because that's what's been happening pre-season. And he'll go very attacking. He'll probably play Bissouma, Sarr and what's it called? Bissouma, Sarr and Maddison. And I think he'll play Kulusevski on the right and obviously Son and Kane.
Right, so you're saying Son, Porro and Kane. So you're obviously going to take Porro over Kulusevski.
Yeah. My 11 is so different from what I think he'll put out. But yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah.
Fair enough.
For me, I think it will be for Vicario at the goal and then Porro as a right back. I'll put the middle two of Romero and Davies with Reguilon as a left back, and then I'll put midfield of. Actually, I'll put a midfield of. You can't put Bentancur there, so it will be Bissouma, Sarr, and Maddison, I guess. And then you have up front Son, Kane, and Kulusevski. Yeah.
Son, Kane, Kulusevski. Okay. Adrian, would you do anything different to what Has and Elias said, or do you have a completely different sort of starting 11? What's your take on it?
I'm going with Tin Legs down here. I think that's a good team. And I'm going for 15 points.
15 points.
Yeah, I never back
of the
against
first
us
5
losing.
games.
Yeah, I never back us against us losing.
Okay.
Okay, 15 points. Wow. So
I hope you're right. I really hope you're right, Adrian.
I'll go for 9. I think 9 points.
I've gone with 7, so.
yeah, I initially said 7 as well when I saw the fixtures with the current lineup we have. So yeah, mine would be Vicario, Udoji. Look, it's got to be out of a bad bunch of Davies and Romero. All that I don't like. Dyer, I'm sorry. Davies, Romero, centre backs. Royale will probably be our one sort of defensive sort of fullback, so he has to start. Bissouma, Sarr showed me glimpses, but I'd have Bissouma, Lo Celso, Maddison, and then possibly Son, Kane. It's a difficult one. Son, Kane, and Porro, or Son, Kane, and Kulu. Something tells me it's going to be Kulu, but yeah, I'd go with Son, Kane, and Kulu. The only thing I'd change from Tin Legs Tony is probably Lo Celso.
In them first 5 games, sorry to interrupt, have the other teams got European matches? Have Man United got?
So if we look at, I don't think they have any European commitments when we play them. So Manchester United certainly won't be in European action on the 19th of August. Bournemouth have no European commitments, as Brentford don't either. Burnley don't, and Sheffield United don't. So no, none of them will have any European commitments.
We're going to be fresh though, 1 game a week, and I think we'll finish the season strongly. Simply because when we get round to the end game part of the season, we'll be playing. People say, "Oh, we've got a real tough run of fixtures at the end of the season." I went, "Hang on, the majority of those teams are going to be in quarterfinals, semi-finals of European games like we were last year, whatever, or the year before, and they're gonna have to like rest certain players and all that, and we'll be fresh." So I think we'll have a strong. They say it's a hard end. I don't think so. I think by then, if Angie's system will either be working or it'll be broke, won't it? So like, and if we're riding high and we've got to come in and play them games, West Ham, Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle, whoever it is, forget who it is. I think we'll be going in with fresh legs. And
right, so I mean, we're saying fresh legs, okay, 1 game a week, but coming up against the likes of Brentford, who I believe they've had a couple more preseason games than us. Look, the way I look at it, Adrian, is we've had half a game. Let's say we've had a completely different 11 against West Ham, right? So the players have had half a game, and then the
preparation's been poor, isn't it? To be polite,
exactly. And then they've had another half a game against part-timers with the Sailors. So if you combine them together, they've had 1 preseason game. In the whole squad have had 1 preseason game. They haven't even had a 90-minute game under their belts.
Yep.
Shakhtar obviously a bit more of a stern test than the other 2. But again, for me, it has to be 90 minutes or close to that mark. 60 minutes at least for these players to get some minutes in their legs. Because we're going, I mean, United have had about 6-7 preseason games already. They look absolutely sharp. Brentford, I've watched them play. They look great.
Brilliant the other day.
I don't know about the likes of Burnley or Sheffield United, what sort of preseason they've had, but certainly they will have had more preseason games or minutes in their legs than Tottenham will have. And this is my major sort of concern, is that are we ready to go, for the first game of the season, first few games of the season? Because that United game couldn't have come at a worse time for us this season, because look, I know people will say it's the second game of the season, you'll get it away. But for me, they just look absolutely pin sharp with the players that they've brought in as well. It's going to be a tough one.
There's no easy games in the Premier League. People always look for an easy run. The only time you think it's an easy run when you're on 7 or 8 winning streak and your confidence is so high you believe you can beat anyone. Brentford, We've never lost away to Brentford ever, I don't think, in our history. We all seem to get something there. Man United, and my faith is on the fact I get called to being deluded at times, which is fair enough, right? But we've got a world-class strike force. I mean, if Kane's there, I mean, and when it fires, when it's on fire, we can beat anyone. And when we've had early tough games, and I always think to be Man City or someone like that, we've always come through the early part of the season and got over them hurdles. So Man United and Brentford, the first two games would look, you'd think, what, they're not going to be any easier than the 1-3 that follow. But to me, they look the harder of the five, right? But no, we can beat both those teams. You've got to believe it. We can beat them.
Okay, yeah. I love the optimism, Adrian.
Adrian, I hope you're right with 15 points.
We all hope, as a collective, we all hope that you are right and that we can get some sort of result against Manchester United and the other teams that will be playing around that fixture. But yeah, I mean, look, there's always concerns. There's always concerns around pre-season. Luckily, we haven't had any injuries. I know that other clubs have had injuries. I think McAllister was injured. I think a few other top players have gone injured as well. So, you know, that's another, you know, thing that we've come through. But we haven't had any pre-season games. So, you know, we've had no cause to be injured. But yeah, loving the optimism. Elias.
Don't the Barca game as well sometime?
Yes, we have the Barca game. I think, is it, correct me if I'm wrong, is it the week after or just a few days after?
I have to look at it. It's on 9th August, so it will be this
4 days before we start. 4 days before we start, yeah.
Yeah, that's when the rumours will gather, won't they, about Kessie if he hasn't gone and Longley.
Yeah.
The rumours will really ugly. The other thing is, like, what do you guys think? What sort of squad we're going to send out there with about 3 days before our first game away at Brentford? I mean, I think this is a poor fixture to have at this stage.
And some are traveling away. It's not like we are hosting them at home. We are traveling away. So such a poor timing. I mean, I'll say.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's. I mean, if we were playing at home, then fair enough. You know, we're playing at home, get some more minutes in the players' legs. But you know, having to travel and back, it is what it is. We'll roll with it. You know, we're Tottenham Hotspur at the end of the day. We take the ups with the downs, and that's just the way it is, isn't it? I mean, let's be honest, guys. It's been a fantastic evening with all of you. We are coming up to the 2-hour mark, so I'm going to wrap up the show. But before I wrap up the show, myself and Haz will be back next Thursday, and we will be doing a combined 11, or we might be doing our own individual 11 and seeing how we fare against each other's teams next week. So make sure you tune in for that one.
Yeah,
there will be another fan show again. So for anyone who's missed out on today or just couldn't get the time to come on, by all means, tune in next week, same time, 8 p.m. And we'll get you onto the show and you can discuss anything you want to discuss. Nothing's out the realms of possibility with Has&Haz. But Adrian, thank you very much. Elias, also thank you very much for being on the show with us. Where can we catch you both next, Adrian? Are you doing anything
well, you've
else?
got my Twitter handle above me there, and you can find me on Facebook.
Yeah, make sure you get over there.
Spurs Diode, you'll find me. Thanks for the invite. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed being with you guys. I've been watching these shows early on. I'm subscribed to about 25. I'm not a member of any of them, mind you, but so I'm constantly bouncing about. People see me everywhere, basically, when I'm not.
Yeah, Adrian, see you at all the streams nowadays.
Yeah, make sure you go over to Adrian's page on Facebook as well. He's got absolutely massive following on there, 11,000 plus. Really good mix of people on there. You know, you've got some Levy outers, you've got some people that are in between. You know, and I'm sure there's fantastic debates raging.
Oh, I think probably half of the membership they'll be from India, Africa, Korea, Philippines, Thailand. We've got massive support down there. There's so many on there, because you can go in the Facebook generated insights and see how active the page has been, which is very active, and just see the top cities and the top countries and all that. And I used to post that up, but I might have to do another one just to like shortly and just post up the insights to show people how well we're doing.
Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, like I said, get over to Adrian's page. The handle's there just above him. So make sure you get over there. Elias, where will you be next? Where can everyone catch you?
Yeah, so I will be starting. I took a bit of a break during the summer. Yeah, I was kind of busy with work and some studies and all that. So yeah, I'll be starting my regular show soon at Spurs. So you all can find me there. I'll be doing some FPL content as well. So I'll be starting my own league in a week's time as well. So I'll be doing some content regarding that. So yeah, you all can catch me there. And other than that, I'm always at some of the streams at Tottenham away as well with Will, Stel, Mari, JP, all of them. Yeah. So here, these are the two places you can find me.
Yeah, great stuff. And Elias's handle is just there as well. You're obviously back with me next week. We are going to be aligning together to do some more shows. But are you doing anything yourself individually in the next few days?
Because I think Mondays is a no-show on here, so probably Monday I'll probably try and do a show every week or some sort. And I'm going to try and post some daily content on my channel, just like short video each day. And then I might just do some solo things every so often. But yeah, you'll probably find me mostly on this channel now and a bit everywhere else. So yeah, I kind of just bounce around nowadays. So yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Get Ashmatic to do some of his wonderful stats
analysis
on all our new signings that are coming in this week and next week, because there's probably about half a dozen coming in, like,
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned that, to be honest, Adrian. I've spoken to Ashmatic already. We've sort of messaged each other. He's working on it at the moment. He's going to be bringing loads of stuff on Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. So anyone who's subscribed or anyone who watches the show, make sure you tune in on Tuesday, 9 p.m. Marlon and Ashmatic will be back. I may make an appearance as well. But we will have more news on the potential signing of the new Argentinian kid from Argentina. Yeah.
I mean, Ash knows his stuff. He literally knows his stuff.
Yeah, he really does. He really does. And he'll be bringing some more stats from players that we've been linked with. And hopefully, if we've signed any players by then, he'll give you all a good insight. But I just want to finish up by saying thank you to everyone who's watched the show tonight. Thank you to everyone involved in the chat, from Gary O'Neill to What's the Point. I'll go through you all. Tin Legs Tony, Gary O'Neill, What's the Point? Ellie as well, thank you very much. Daniel E, Lee Smith, Big Yourselves Up, Scott M, Garage Classics, Sammy Mehmet. Look, if I've forgotten anyone, please let me know. Next week. Iggy as well. Iggy, Big Yourself Up. Paul Brown. Bobby K, almost forgot Bobby K there. Mark Swift, Spurs related. Ben Kaufman as well, Big Yourself Up. The Mod Father, Mark Swift.
Paul Brown.
Tony Rodriguez, where have you been? You joined us in the beginning, but make sure you join us next week. Big
Spurs
up to
related, Philly.
Yeah, we've gone through Spurs related. Friday as well.
Yeah, Friday's the one I was looking for.
Absolutely. Big yourselves up. And if I've forgotten anyone, let me know. Jay Ashraf as well. There you go. If I've forgotten anyone, let me know. I'll give you all a shout next week. But make sure you join us next on Tuesday for the analysis show with Ashmatic and Marlon. That's going to be fantastic. And until the next one, come on, you Spurs. Let's get those signings over the line. Let's do it.
15 points.
Come on, Spurs.
Yeah.